Hi, I'm James Barfield, and this is your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated. Now, I want to tell you about today's show. As you watch this video and listen to my commentary, you'll learn that the show you're about to watch today is very, very similar to a reality that we witnessed here in Kansas a year or two ago to a young man who was a juvenile at the time by the name of Cedric Lofton. That case and this case has an awful lot of similarities. Now, this case begins in Central Virginia, where a young Black male, 28 years of age, was suffering from a mental crisis. He was at the family home, and his mother called the police and informed them that he was having a mental crisis. She was hoping to get mental help and mental evaluation for her son. So, in this particular case, like so many others, instead of a mental health professional arriving on the scene, several police officers with what I have to assume was no mental health experience or background came on the scene and basically encountered a gentleman who's having a mental health crisis. His mother at the time surrounded her son and told police not to be aggressive with him as he was suffering from a mental crisis. Now, what happened was her son is now deceased, and 7 law enforcement officers have been charged with second-degree murder. Now I want you to listen to this story and see if you don't see the similarities between Cedric Lofton and this case. 7 sheriff's deputies in Central Virginia were arrested and charged with second-degree murder on Tuesday in the death of a Black man who prosecutors say was fatally smothered while in custody. Irvo Otieno, 28, died on March the 6th at a state mental health facility during the intake process as he was being transferred from a Henrico County jail, according to a statement from Dinwiddie County Commonwealth's attorney, Ann Cobble Bakersfield. In court on Wednesday, Bakersfield said Otieno was in handcuffs and leg irons and was held on the ground for 12 minutes by all 7 deputies. They smothered him to death, she said. Now remember, this is the county Commonwealth's attorney. He died of asphyxia due to being smothered. Now those are his words. I'm sorry, those are her words, not mine. She said the incident was captured on video that is extremely clear and extremely alarming. Again, her words. The video is 12 minutes long and shows deliberate and cruel treatment, she added. An attorney for the family noted the brutal nature of his death in a statement. The family is grief-stricken after learning of the brutal nature of his inhumane treatment in the hours preceding his death. Mark Pruddy's, the attorney for Otieno's family, told CNN, the public and experienced mental health professionals alike will be deeply disturbed when the facts of this case are fully made known. Now, the family and their attorneys have been allowed to see this 12-minute video. The public has not yet had an opportunity to see it. Now, but first of all, as was in the case with Cedric Lofton, you have to ask, why did they take him to jail as opposed to taking him to a mental hospital where he could get professional mental help? They didn't do that. But you see, when will these police departments learn how to handle mental health cases? Individuals that are suffering and experiencing a mental health crisis. You don't need law enforcement with guns and badges and attitudes on that scene. You need people that have been trained professionally how to engage these types of people. You need professionals who know how to interact with people that are having mental health crises. You don't need someone that's going to go with an attitude and the first thing he wants to do is put his hands on his gun. These people, and when I'm saying these people, I'm talking about these law enforcement officers, and not only these ones here in Virginia, but all across the country, are going to have to learn that people that are experiencing mental crisis, and when the caller indicates that is the case, dispatchers will have to learn you don't send people with badges and guns and batons and attitudes as first responders. They should be, if needed, called by a professional mental health worker, not police, not in the beginning. See, this, we've seen this all too often. Now, let me explain something to you all. There's a study that was done that shows that 21% of the people that are killed by police officers suffer from mental crisis. 21%. Now, that alone tells you that police departments should not be first responders on these scenes. This woman called in, there was no violence taking place, but you know what happened? The police stated that they were responding to a burglary call. That is not the case. That is not what happened. Never was there any burglary involved. Never was anyone ever told that there was a burglary in progress, any of that. You see, these 7 officers have been relieved of duty and been charged with second-degree murder. Now, they turned themselves in, and their court case will be March the 21st, which is Monday. Okay, 2 of them have bonded out according to state records. Now, the FOP, and in this particular case, I don't know if they call it FOP, but they are the union for the police department here in this Virginia city. And they have come out and issued a statement, they stand behind the officers. Why am I not surprised at that? As I told you last week, when I reported on the study from Wichita regarding the culture of the Wichita Police Department, and I informed you that that is the only agenda that the Fraternal Order of Police have, is to protect their officers, no matter what the situation is, no matter how bad it looks, even if it's on video, their officers are afforded their protection, and they care only about their officers. And they don't care about what happened to any citizen, civilian, whatever. They don't care if they broke the laws. Their job is to protect those officers. And that's what they're doing here. You know, I want to show you here right quick. I want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, that these guys, and I'm trying to find a part here where they say they were responding to a burglary. And that is absolutely not the case. And okay, let me show you, first of all, I'm going to show you these deputies as they turn themselves in. I want to show you, and there's 7 of them. And then I want to tell you also that, that in addition to these 7 deputies, there also was 3 hospital workers were also arrested and charged with first, second degree murder in this case. But here are the deputies. Okay, there's the deputies right there. Okay, so these guys arrived on the scene and said, and I don't know where this came from, said that they were coming to the scene in response to a call for a burglary. Now, where would they get that from? Certainly, that should be on tape, audio tape, in the conversation between the dispatchers to these officers. And I don't believe it is, because the mother never initiated any conversation about anything having to do with a burglary. She clearly informed them that her son was having a mental crisis. Now, these things are happening too frequently. So I want you to keep in mind 2 things. One, this gentleman was handcuffed. Number 2, this gentleman was shackled at the legs. Now you tell me why the need for 7 officers, one with his knee on this guy's neck for 12 minutes, and the other 6 were all on his body, on his back. There's 7 bodies, the weight of 7 bodies on this guy's back and neck for 12 minutes. How could he possibly be a threat to anyone? And he's lying face down on the ground. You see, this is unprofessional conduct. It's use of excessive force. And in this case, according to the prosecutor, it's murder. It's murder. And yet, the police union says we stand behind these officers. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, this family, this guy was 28 years old. His family came to America when he was 4 years old. The guy was not a criminal, did not have a criminal past, did not have a criminal background, was not engaging in any criminal activity, yet they claim that this guy became combative with them when they took him to the Henrico County Jail. Well, why would you take him to the county jail in the first place? This guy should have been taken to where they later transferred him after they had basically smothered the guy. They later transferred him to Central Hospital, which is a mental health hospital. But it was too late. The guy was deceased. And this is what we've seen before. This is what happens. They act after they have done the dirty work, after they have done the damage, after they have suffocated and snuffed the life out of this young 20-year-old black man. Enough is enough. We've seen this story in this movie too many times. Once is once too many, one too many. But we've seen this story with Eric Garner. We've seen this story with Cedric Lofton. Now we have another story here in Virginia. Same case, different location. Okay? And I'm sure there's been others. But departments across the country should learn. You should have learned from George Floyd. With all the publicity, with the conviction of several officers there, you should have learned that is not the way that you handle these kinds of cases. Departments, police departments, law enforcement departments are going to have to learn how the heck you deal with mental health people. And I suggest that you make mental health professionals the first responders and not law enforcement officers. They can be used as backup, they can stand off, and if they're needed, they can be then called by the mental health professional. But you don't send somebody with a gun and a badge into non-criminal activity. It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. And as we see here, once again, it can be murderous. Time out for that. Now, these gentlemen will go to court. They will go through due process. But I think that with a 12-minute video, as we saw in the case of Cedric Lofton, as we saw in the case of Mr. Floyd, with an officer's knee on his neck. And in this particular case, 6 other officers, and the video will show it, 6 other officers with their full body weight on this guy while he's lying face down on the ground, handcuffed, and they shackled. See, these guys fail to understand that your job is not to issue punishment. Your job is to, if there's a criminal act, you make a charge, and you then let the court and the legal process work as is ordained to do. It's not up to you to issue punishment. And in this particular case, a mental health patient should not be given death. He should be given access to a mental health professional at a mental health facility and treated as such, not by police officers, not by law enforcement officers, but mental health professionals. Now, if you need the services of law enforcement, fine, you call them. I don't think you need them when you've got a gentleman who's handcuffed and his legs are shackled. I don't see, for the life of me, how that person can be a threat to harm anybody at any time in any place. I don't care if it's in the jail, if it's in the mental hospital, wherever. This